What's up, and welcome back to another episode of DNR Sports. My name's Richie, and today I will be going over the 2021 Washington football team roster, as well as giving my record prediction and relevant fantasy players from this team. As a whole, this team has gone through a lot of changes, especially in the last two seasons, but more specifically for this season, for the 2021 season, they got a new quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick, as well as numerous other signings for other position groups for this team. So with that being said, I'm going to start with their offense and at the quarterback position with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, in my opinion, I don't think there's a player who could be more different than Alex Smith than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Smith was very passive, very game manager-esque, while Ryan Fitzpatrick is very gunslinger, very gung-ho. He's gonna grip it and rip it, and he's gonna try to make every throw possible that he can. Of course, that could get him into some trouble, but as a whole, I think this team has great playmakers that can actually help with that and actually create some success for this team. But we'll get to that next. I'll get to the wide receivers next. So we'll start with Terry McLaurin. Obviously, he is a beast. You can make the argument that he is the best wide receiver in the NFC East, obviously next to Amari Cooper. But I really like McLaurin here, especially with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who once he finds a guy and locks onto him, that's his guy. And so McLaurin could definitely be that guy for this offense, as well as Curtis Samuel, who they just signed from Carolina, who didn't play more than 80% of snaps last year, except for one game. So that kind of just shows you his potential. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. I think he's a do-it-all kind of guy. He can line up in the backfield, slot, outside, do it all for this Washington team. And I think that's going to be really helpful for that offense and for his production. As well as they got some other guys. They signed Adam Humphries from Tennessee. They drafted Diami Brown in the third round of this year's draft. So I think the team could be very solid. I think, in my opinion, they have good depth at the receiving core, even with Kelvin Harmon and Steven Sims Jr., two young guys who could make a name for themselves with a new quarterback change. Now going to the tight end position, obviously they're returning Logan Thomas, who bounced around from team to team as a quarterback. He's now finally found his footing as a tight end and produced a top 4 fantasy production year last season. Obviously, the tight ends were kind of lackluster as a whole, but I think that he can actually continue this. I think Fitzpatrick's going to give him chances in the red zone and just in general that Alex Smith never gave him. I do believe Thomas could repeat or even do better than his last year's production, especially when you look at with the depth along the tight end group and see that there's not really that many great guys here. They drafted John Bates in the 4th round of the 2021 draft. They also have Ricky Seals-Jones, who stands out to me because he was supposed to be the guy in Arizona for a little bit. But with that being said, I'm going to get to the running back group now, and Antonio Gibson is listed here as a starter, and I agree. I think he can be a do-it-all running back. I do think he can carry the ball effectively as well as make crucial catches. But the only problem is they have J.D. McKissick, who's also very solid in his own right at catching the ball. So why would you not give him chances as well? I think last year they actually used the running back group not perfectly, I'll say, but very efficiently, with McKissick getting a bunch of targets and Antonio Gibson getting the carries. I don't think McKissick's going to be as relevant this year because I do think Antonio Gibson should take a bigger step up, and I do think that McKissick won't get as many carries/targets, catches/targets this year because of Ryan Fitzpatrick's more aggressive play. So I'm also looking here. They have Lamar Miller, who, if that's the Lamar Miller, that's crazy. He's been out of the league for a year or two now. I believe he tore his ACL with the Patriots. And they also have Peyton Barber, who, in my opinion, is a pretty solid running back 3. Should they choose to keep on a player. I think he's a little bit older now. But with that being said, I do like the offense. I do think their offensive line is very solid. Obviously, Charles Leno and Lucas coming from Chicago, Sheriff, who has been a very, very good right guard in his own right, and Flowers and Roulier, who I think could be serviceable players in their own right. Obviously, Flowers coming back from Miami after a short stint with the same team, with the football team. So, yeah, I think their offensive line is very solid. I'm not even mentioning either Samuel Cosme, who they drafted in the 2nd round. So, as a whole, this offense doesn't scare me. I don't think they have too many notable players here that I'm really scared of outside of maybe Terry McLaurin. But I think they could be very solid. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. I think they could be a middle-of-the-pack offense who will be carried then by their stellar defense, at least in my opinion. and just starting up front with the defensive line, it's scary. Straight up, it is scary. So obviously they have Chase Young, who they drafted number 2 overall in the 2020 draft. Deron Payne, another first-round pick. Jonathan Allen, another first-round pick. And Montez Sweat, you guessed it, another first-round pick. So that very, very solid unit up front. I could make the argument top 2, top 3 defensive line in the whole entire league, which is saying something because there are a lot of good units out there, a lot of good players. And I'm not even talking about Matt Ioannidis, who is a very, very good pass rusher in his own right, and Tim Settle, who I think is good depth along that defensive line. So it's scary looking at this, especially Young going into his second year. He can take the step up. And Montez Sweat going into now his third year could also take a step up because, third year is the year that players are supposed to break out and start playing well. So with that being said, now going to off-ball linebacker, they drafted Jamin Davis in the first round last year out of Kentucky. Questions about him. Why did he only start 1 year at Kentucky? Like, what was the deal with that? But he played well in his 1 year, so definitely merits the first-round draft choice. They also have John Bostic there as their Mike linebacker, middle linebacker. Very solid run stuffer. A little bit older now, but they also have David Mayo behind him, who's also a very solid run stuffer from New York. And they have Cole Holcomb, who I think played fairly well last year. Again, not like a world beater linebacker, but as a guy who can do his job, play his position correctly and properly. I think he can do that. So front seven, kind of scary for this team, especially if Jamin Davis can play really well. But even if they don't play so well, the defensive backfield can definitely make up for the lack of linebacker production here, because they have some dogs in the secondary, starting with William Jackson, who they signed from Cincinnati. He was, if not the best free agent cornerback for the 2021 free agency period. So good for Washington for picking him up. I think they only got him for like $13 a year, which in my opinion was a steal. I think that was a really good purchase and a really good price for them. And they also obviously have slot specialist Kendall Fuller, who formerly from Washington went to the Chiefs for a short stint, and now is back with the football team. And here they have Jimmy Moreland as the nickelbacker. I guess I would definitely think Kendall Fuller would be in that role in nickel packages, but Moreland is okay in himself. They also drafted Benjamin St. Juste in the third round, who's got height to him. I believe he's about 6'3", so definitely could be a very solid boundary corner. And then some other guys here in their cornerback group that could make the back end of the roster. Now going to their safety core, obviously they have Landon Collins, who is a big hitting box safety from New York. I haven't heard his name much since he's got the large contract, but I'm sure because he's still on the team, I'm sure he's a captain there. I'm sure he's still playing fairly decently. Can't really cover. He couldn't cover New York. I'm sure he didn't really fix that in Washington, but we'll see. And they also here have Carmen Curl as their second safety. Not really sure much about him, to be honest. I know Troy Apke. He's pretty quick. Maybe he can get a starting spot, or they drafted Darek Forrest in the 5th round of this year's draft, so maybe he can make a name for himself. But as a whole, this defense is insane. I don't know, man. As a Giants fan, it kind of scares me just for this defense because of everything they have, and the Giants' offense is a little lackluster. So I think Washington can keep themselves in games just on their defense alone. And even their special teams too is pretty solid. Tress Way is one of, if not the best punters in the league, and Dustin Hopkins is solid in his own right. Not like the best kicker or anything, but he gets the job done at most times. But I would say the one problem I would have with this team, as crazy as this is Ryan Fitzpatrick. I felt like, and I still feel this way, that Alex Smith was a better fit for this team. Nothing exciting, nothing that will make the defense's job harder than it already has to be. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is very good and can win you games, but he can also throw away games as well and make it harder on your defense by giving the ball away a ton. So I do think that having Ryan Fitzpatrick here could make this team more fantasy relevant and make them more exciting to watch. But as a whole, I don't know if this team's going to be any better I know I've been praising their whole team, but again, it is an NFC East team, and we do have to take these teams with a grain of salt. But with that being said, my overall record prediction for this team, and this is without looking at any schedule, any head-to-head matchups, but I will actually have the football team going 8-9 for this upcoming season. And the biggest reason for that is they had 0 injuries last season, or that's a lie. They had 0 big name injuries, nothing that really killed their team. And I do believe that this season they're not going to get that same luck. And I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back with some injuries here and there. They do have some depth in some key position groups though, so it could keep them afloat. But I think with Dallas coming back, Giants improving, and Philly pretty much being the same team, I do think that Washington's gonna obviously they'll get one more win than they did last year, but I think they'll be about the same. I don't think they're going to take this huge jump that people believe they will. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to talk about some fantasy relevant players from this offense. Obviously, Ryan Fitzpatrick. If they decide to go in the route of a pass-happy offense, then Fitzpatrick obviously will probably get 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks in most games that he'll play. Give or take, obviously, it's not going to be the same for every game. So that could be a little bit of a, maybe he'd be more of like a backup quarterback, play him week to week, depending on the matchup. He also has some legs, believe it or not. Sometimes he'll pick up the first down, get maybe like 20, 30 rushing yards a game. Maybe he'll sneak in a rushing touchdown here or there, which could be beneficial to his fantasy relevance. Obviously, Terry McLaurin is going to be the number 1 wide receiver there. He's always going to get his dues. He's always going to make plays, especially with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Hopefully they can build a rapport. Curtis Samuel now, if they can manufacture ways to get him the ball out of the backfield or lined up out wide, I think that could be really beneficial. He's going to get more snaps. I think he's going to play really well this season. I think he can make a name for himself for sure. Same thing with Logan Thomas. I think, again, he can have a fantasy relevant season. Especially if he can light it up in the red zone and get like maybe, I mean, this is going to be a lot obviously, but average, maybe close to a touchdown per game. I think that could be really beneficial for him. And then some other guys here like Dami Brown, Kelvin Harmon, even maybe Steven Sims Jr., Adam Humphries. I think they could maybe make a name for themselves. I'm not really planning on it though. I think the McLaurin, Samuel, and Thomas would be the only 3 guys that I would draft or I have an eye on. Obviously, they're guys, maybe deep sleepers or watch the waiver wire for them. And then for running back, I don't think McKissip's going to be as good this year. I do think he'll have his snap count limited a little bit, or not limited, but have less snaps as a whole. Because I think Gibson could come in and take some of the passing downs away from McKissic, as well as Gibson just as a whole being the guy. This team could be leading more, but they could also be kind of like in a similar situation they were last year. So, again, I like Gibson. I think he could be very solid as well. So, with that being said, this was my overview for the 2021 Washington football team. If you guys agree with anything I said, make sure to let me know in the comments. If you disagreed, let me know in the comments. Let me hear it. I'm always looking for feedback. Me and Dan, we want to make this channel better. We want to make this channel for you. If you guys have made it this far in the video, maybe you can hit the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications to see our latest uploads. We're trying to get back to every day. We slacked for a little bit because of our schedules, but we're trying to get back. We got a video up today as I'm recording this at 6:20, so we should be good for the next few days and hopefully for the rest of the summer. So thank you guys for watching. I've been Richie from DNR Sports. I'll see you in the next one.
Can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right.